Well, thank you very much for taking the time. I appreciate it. It has been a long time since the last time we spoke.
Yes, thank you also for giving the opportunity. Like, it's great.
So let's start at the very, very start of your music history. So,
Okay.
how did you get into music? How did the saxophone become the instrument that you chose and that you wanted to learn?
Yeah, so it's funny because somebody asked me the question and I remembered some details and it was pretty close, like a few days before, so I have it completely ready. Like,
Okay.
it was a relative of mine was listening to Louis Jordan, my Andrea actually. So I heard Louis Jordan and I was like, oh wow. And then also Little Richard, like from the 60s, the rock and roll singer, and they have amazing saxophones. So I realized that this is the sound of the saxophone, and I was loving it. And so yeah, and then I saw it. Then I saw the instrument, like in a video clip or something, and I loved the way it looked. Also. So I said, okay, it sounds amazing and it looks amazing. So I got it. So I was 10 years old, but yeah, nobody believed me. That's the irony of it. Like my mother said, yeah, take the guitar first, which is not weird because, and then, but I was obsessed. So I started early, which is a good thing, like 10 years old or something.
Nice. Very good. And I know you play the piano also, and so the saxophone came first and later the piano. And how did you start learning the piano? How did the piano come into your life, I guess?
Yeah, well, the truth is like I used to play a lot more piano, not more the saxophone, of course, but yeah, some years back, like I played some professional gigs and stuff, and I started playing piano almost the same age by myself, and in a little keyboard. And then I was lucky to go to the music high school of Palini, so I had to learn a little bit classical because you have to it's one of the lessons that you have to do. So then I found this teacher that was teaching jazz piano in the music high school, uh, Kalkanis, and so Yorgos Kalkanis, yeah. So then I went even more into it, and then I went to Nakas Conservatory, which I had the Dimitri Vasilaki on the saxophone, but I also did harmony, so piano was the best for harmony.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went for composition, which is like even more important, like piano. I mean, I think that every composer that I've searched, like the true legends from classical music, Debussy and Stravinsky to Wayne Shorter and Charles Mingus, they all did everything in the piano.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so then I played it. I developed it, some technique. I mean, I'm not no virtuoso, but I kind of developed a technique on piano with composing a lot on the piano.
Okay. And yes, when you're speaking about composing, when you're writing music, what is the first instrument you go to? Do you go to the saxophone or do you go to the piano?
Great answer, great question. So yeah, like I go to the piano always, and but the truth is that sometimes I might while I'm improvising, like just by myself in the saxophone, I might find something that is very good as a melodic motive. So then I stop playing saxophone, I go to the piano, and I harmonize it. I put the harmony on it, and then I try to find bridges or.
Yep. Saxophone, I guess, is more for when you're writing lead melodies and lead lines. Would that be correct?
Yeah, exactly. Because it has no chords. So
Yeah.
what happens with the saxophone, though, there's something that is really good that you can find very good melodies because it has that sound that it has a big sound. So sometimes I realize that saxophone players, they make very good melodies as composers because many times they don't have to play many notes to make a melody.
Cool.
While in the piano, you might get into something really fast or too many notes sometimes. That's the good thing about finding a melody in the saxophone, Is
Nice.
that
Yeah, keep going. Don't let me interrupt you.
no, that's it. I wasn't sure if it was clear.
Yeah.
Like
Now, I know your stepfather was a big fan of jazz music, so I'm guessing that he played a big part in your love of jazz music. Did he encourage you to take up music, or was it just kind of natural for you?
well, everybody actually like my stepfather is like the good thing about the house that I was brought in that was that good music was played, and I believe that helped me, because there was a lot of Bach and classical music, but also there was a lot of rock. And the other great thing was that he has a really big LP collection of the collection. So I didn't need to go to the store to buy LPs. I mean, it's so many jazz LPs right in the living room,
Nice.
So yeah. I mean, they're still there.
Are they really? He's still got them?
Yeah, he's got everything, and it's an even bigger collection now. Actually, it's some thousands. I don't know the number, but it's thousands of LPs and CDs.
Wow.
And yeah, it's really great. And yeah, crazy sound system. Also, he has a crazy sound system. Yeah. Like whole package. Anyway, but the truth is, like, the whole family, like, yeah, my mother, also my father, like, they loved music, So it wasn't something like weird, I mean, there's none of my parents is a musician, but I had some luck into that. The fact of the LPs and they like music.
Yeah. So yes, I mean you mentioned kind of classical and rock music, which obviously you're not known for. You're known for
Exactly.
playing in jazz. So yeah, what are some other things that maybe some people would be surprised that you listened to?
What other styles I listen to?
Yeah.
Well, I've there was a big period in my life that I was obsessed with some contemporary classical music, like Debussy, as I said.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, a lot of Debussy, and a lot of Stravinsky. Like, I had an obsession with these two composers. I still have it, but there was a period that I ended up trying to play Debussy on the piano, which I made. I made it. I mean, I didn't make it that fast that it was supposed to be, because it's like serious technique to play
Yeah.
that stuff. But I made it enough to get the information of the harmony, so that helped me in a crazy, amazing way, like to learn about harmony, get deeper, because these people are gurus of harmony. So, and they are revolutionaries of their era.
Nice. Well,
And what else? I listen a lot. I love a lot of rock stuff, but it's like very particular stuff that I've loved through the years. And I first started listening to rock before jazz, actually. It went like rock and roll, and then rock and roll, rockabilly, blues, a lot of blues, soul, rock, and then jazz. Something like that. That was the way I went to jazz,
Interesting. So jazz was the last thing that you got into, was it?
Yeah. Uh, I think this is like some kind of ordinary because like when I was 11, jazz was too heavy, and that was what I was feeling, and then the I was listening to everything that was so close to it, though, like the blues and B.B. King, Albert King, John Lee Hooker, Bob Diddley, Latin Hopkins, and then at the same time I was listening to the Doors, Rolling Stones, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then from that, all these things are kind of related. Yeah, yeah. The keyboard player the keyboard player of the Doors.
Ray
What's his
Manzarek.
name? I can't remember. Ray Manzarek, exactly. So he had a lot of jazz influence. Like the Riders on the Storm solo, it's like more jazz than rock,
Great song, one of my favorites.
Great. Yeah, me too.
Now I know you studied at Berklee, and you're not the only one. There's a few Greek jazz musicians that have gone to Berklee, but how does somebody who is living in Greece end up, studying at Berklee, one of the most well-known schools in Boston and America, most well-known music schools, I guess?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that back in the very early 2000s, there was nothing else here. Like, you had some teachers, but it wasn't like the way it is now. That, for example, now if you're a piano player, you just gotta find Kodrafouris, and you can do really, really, really high level stuff. If you find him as a teacher, or like there's a lot of opportunity compared to back then. Back then it was like one teacher for the saxophone, one teacher for the harmony, something like that. So you had to go at least somewhere like abroad to go and evolve even more,
Mm-hmm.
So I took a scholarship, and also like most of my teachers were from Berklee.
Oh,
They studied there.
okay.
So they were saying the same thing. Like, yeah, now you finished the Nakas Conservatory, so you got to go there because there's nothing else,
Mm.
Some friends were also there that are now great musicians, actually. Like Xenopoulos, a great tenor player that lives in London, makes a big career there. And some others here. They were already there in Berklee, so everybody was telling me, guys who were there, my teachers were telling me, yeah, that's the place to go, And I went there into the crazy level.
Yeah, from what I understand, it is quite a crazy level. So did you ever, I don't know, when you arrived there, did you think, no problem, I can do this? Or did you think, wow, this is crazy?
It's funny because I have some students now that I prepare them for universities abroad. And this thing that happens now is so much better because now they can just click on YouTube and see, the level of their college.
Mm-hmm.
Well, back then, I just went there and I freaked out because the only thing I had as information was that guy Xenopoulos. We spoke on the phone when he was in Berklee, and he was like, "Listen, there are here 18-year-olds that play New York level," and I was like, "Come on, like he's an 18-year-old. Like New York, the players of New York are like, you can't be 18-year-old." And then he was like, "Okay, you'll see." And then I went there and I see these little kids. Like I was 19, they were a year younger, and they were playing jazz like I would pay for.
Um,
Yeah, great.
so has
Awesome.
the level of the Greek music scene has really, really improved in the last, I
Yeah,
don't know,
skyrocketed.
in the last 10 years or 20 years or whatever the case may be. So, I mean, is there still a need for people in Greece, for musicians in Greece, to go overseas, or can they, get to that level, by studying in Greece without going abroad?
Yeah, there's first of all, for not for all instruments. Like for example, in saxophone and trumpet, we have a few, but they're not more than five new players that are legit. But in other instruments, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like we have crazy drummers, we have crazy piano players, even more crazy guitar players. So that's a great thing for saxophone players. So they can play with very, very advanced bands. So, which is one of the most important things to learn jazz. So, in my opinion, you can do crazy stuff. I mean, there are crazy players here that never went to abroad, like Yiannis Kassetas on the keyboards, on the piano, and Kostis Christodoulou on the piano, and there's so many. There's like guitar players that are great, like Stouraitis and Kotsifos.
Yeah.
So these people also are teachers, so you can learn so much. But there's something that is like, for me, it's the same importance. That's what I say to everybody, that the difference is again the internet and the information, which is crazy. Because when I was I went in '99 in Berklee. I used to hear this rumor about this guru of jazz piano, Buddy Harris, that made seminars, and then like in 2-3 years ago, I checked him on YouTube, and everything was there. So I'm just thinking that, let's say I have a 50-year-old student, and he asks me what should I check, and he can just check Barry Harris seminars on YouTube and just learn ridiculous stuff, like the best information about jazz from that, just by clicking the button on YouTube, I mean, of course, you need some guidance, because there's a lot of saxophone channels on YouTube that are no good. But the truth is like that, if you have a little bit of guidance, you can make miracles. Like, I wish I knew that stuff back in 1999, when I was like, young, and my mind was fresh, and hear Barry Harris back then, so I will know a lot more how to practice. So here it's like, yeah, they're very that's very lucky that they have this thing.
Cool. And so, how long were you in America for? In Berklee, was it 3 years, 4 years?
Well, I stayed there 2 years, finished it in 2 years, because I had this. They had this system like foundation from Nagas Conservatory, so they accepted a lot of credits. So I stayed 2 years, yeah, and I finished on the saxophone diploma.
Okay.
On the degree of.
I imagine there's a lot more opportunities for jazz musicians in America and in Boston. So, did you ever think about staying in America?
No.
No?
Well, the truth is, I never thought about New York. There was thoughts about Boston, because some musicians stayed there, but I didn't like it there, because it was like too cold, and like it didn't have any energy. I was like 20 when I finished, not 21. I finished when I was 21, and then, well, Boston is like a little bit of a city for students, and there's nothing to do like at night. Like, I mean, you have like 2 jazz clubs that are nice to go at night. So it was not good for me. And then I went actually a lot of trips in New York because it's like my favorite scene. It's crazy there. But then I didn't see New York also as a place that I can live. It was like completely different than Boston, but it was like, I don't know, too crazy, should I say, or also like too noisy stuff, like most of the musicians that I know that they stayed there, they struggled, or they even struggle now. Like some of them are like in their 40s as me, and they still have roommates and shit like that. Like I didn't see any quality of life. While at the same time, when I was back in Greece, the first year I started making money. Like as a musician, it's like
Nice.
New York is gonna take you. Yeah, in New York, it's gonna take you years. And I mean, I'll give you an example about New York, like which says everything. Like McCoy Tyner had to work as a cab driver. Like,
Yeah.
like if McCoy Tyner worked as a cab driver, then like what kind of a place? Like maybe you're gonna make a career for 5 years or 10, and then it's not. You're gonna be lost again. You're gonna run for pop and Greek gigs in Astoria. It's like, yeah, it's a mess. It's like the ultimate capitalism, and also something that's very important is that the level of saxophone is crazy. It's not only the New York people. It's like you got the best French, the best people from all the world, like all the world, from China, and you got South Korean players now that are playing killer, and they all go to New York. So, like before you think you did something, like there's a new guy, another 10 new guys that are doing it better or whatever. It's like I mean, I remember this guitar player. He came here, a friend of a drummer friend, who played in some islands here in Amorgos and other places, and he was amazing. He was amazing, and I follow him on Facebook, and he doesn't really do many shit. Like and I think if that guy doesn't make a lot of stuff, like I don't know, then who does? Like one guy, then nothing.
Yeah. Well, speaking of New York, let's go. As well as composing and releasing your own albums, you also play in other bands. And the first album that I discovered from you is the one that you did with George Spanos, who's now living in New York. But the album that you did with Spanos, Jungle of Illusions, that's more free jazz, which is more what George does, not so much what you do. So
Yeah.
how did you guys come together?
Yeah, the good thing about that is that my teacher in Berklee, like I used to go to all of his concerts, like every week. I didn't lose one concert. George Garjon. So his trio was a free jazz trio. So I learned so many stuff about free jazz back then, and I never had the opportunity to play. So then, when it started, went kind of natural, because the other good thing about like when I studied in Boston was that I did a lot of composing classes. I mean, I actually did almost everything that there is there in composition. So, like that is very, very important. If you play free jazz, is if you're a composer, you're gonna make it better, because like Ornette Coleman was an amazing composer, crazy. So, and he was the creator of free jazz. It does connect in a crazy way. It does connect amazingly. Like,
So let's talk about, because you're involved with a number of bands in Greece. You don't only play and release your own albums. You play with a number of bands.
yeah,
So let's talk about one or two of them. One of my favorite bands that you work with is the
yeah.
Wolfy Funk Project.
Oh yeah.
who
Yeah,
do
I
some
can't wait to play.
fantastic funk and with the turntables and that kind of thing. How did you get involved with the Wolfy Funk project? But the other question I want to ask also, Wolfy Funk project is a funk soul band, so there's not a lot of playing like in jazz. So how do you make sure you're staying within the song?
So yeah, the good thing is that while I started listening to jazz at the same time, I listened so much funk. I mean, funk is my favorite. So like in jazz funk also. So it was very easy, because I've listened to so much, and also like I wanted to make it in a band that and respect the style, Like it's gonna be. I mean, it's a failure when I play jazz in a funk band. I don't want to. It just doesn't work. It's not what needed. So it's kind of a challenge. Not put any jazz stuff into a pure funk soul stuff. And how I met them is like my first band was with the keyboard player of the Wolfy when I was 17 or something. So I knew Stamati, the keyboard player, from many years ago, like my first band. So that was the connection. Yeah, I love their stuff because they got also some harmonies going on, like in a way that doesn't change the style. It doesn't go too jazzy. So yeah, the rappers that are there are great, also like everything, and they're great people. Like that's one of the reasons also I keep playing with these guys because they're very nice people. For me, like I work now as a teacher, and I'm very happy because that gives me the opportunity to choose my bands and not go to play just to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Which I used to do, and it wasn't nice because like a lot of people are not no good. So
Yeah.
like I want to play with people that are like nice people, and have fun, have fun. I mean, if they called me tomorrow and they'd say let's go on tour, I would love it because I'm having fun with these guys. While I used to go on tour with some other bands, and if you can't connect, it's really, really, really boring and tiring. Even though you can make money out of touring. But so yeah, what you said about bands, like we have a band now that I like so much. It's called the Hippomaniacs, and we're gonna make our new record, our first record actually.
I was going to ask, yeah,
In a
you
label.
played yesterday with the Hippomaniacs, did you?
Yeah, exactly. We had two dates yesterday and the day before, and it also went on tour to Ikaria Island, which was amazing. We played every day almost. With like crazy crowds, like 500 people, 1,000 people, like crazy.
Wow.
Everybody was dancing.
I've never
It's a
seen
great
any.
band because like a really, really advanced level. But that's it, like really advanced level of musicians. So that's very good for me because I learn also. Like because they're really, really great, and we have some great compositions from the guitar player. The it's like it's great because we are friends. We have a very good connection as people. Mutual interests in aesthetics, music, and I learned because bass and drums they're so advanced. So every time I play with these guys, I get better as a musician. Because they are very, very high level.
Cool. So you're saying you're going to record with them. When are you recording? When do you hope the album will come out?
Well, the truth is that this whole connection is happened drummer, so I don't even remember the name of the label right now because he does the connection. It was supposed to be on July, but we canceled it so we can be even more ready. So now it's going to be in October. And anyway, I don't remember the name of the label right now, but it's going to be great because every time we do like any kind of recording, we did like some recordings just for ourselves, and just happens, like we have some free jazz concepts in there also that are working better than ever, like better than anything I've done in my life.
Interesting.
Like for the last year, yeah, you know what we're doing? Like the last year, every concert we do, the first song is free. It's like sometimes I don't even want to know the tonality, so I will be completely free, and whatever happens, happens.
Cool.
And we just start. And the fact that the guitar player and the bass player, they're composers, like really, really good ones. I mean, this is a kind of an unfortunate thing that people in Greece, they don't really know these guys as composers. They just know them as instrumentalists, where they're like some of the best composers we have here in the jazz scene of Greece. That fact helps a lot with free jazz, as I said before. So whenever we start with that song that is like something improvisational completely, it always works. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Nice.
So it's also that good connection of people who helps people listen to each other. So I listen to them and I embrace what they do, the ideas they give me, and they embrace what I do. So
cool. Well, 500 people and 1,000 people at the gig is pretty impressive. I didn't expect that you can get those kinds of numbers for that style of music in Greece.
Yeah, it's like it's the place actually. It's like Ikaria, and the other factor is that I kind of knew that there's a lot of Afrobeat in that band.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's very danceable,
Yeah.
So we could do great stuff, but the people are. Yeah, actually, it was interesting. I didn't expect it to be like that. But, even though it's Afrobeat, we're gonna go full on improvisation. It's not gonna be like reserved.
I'd love to hear it. I actually have not heard or seen any videos from Hippomaniacs, so I have to look them up.
I got to send you. There's some, but there's one particular one that started the same way as I told you, like totally free.
Yep.
And I made up a melody like that, and it worked. And it's like I'm very proud of that video that we did,
cool.
Even though it's not like a video in a studio. It's a video that we made in our rehearsal studio. So the quality is not like the full-on mastered stuff, but there's something spontaneous.
Okay, spontaneous.
Something very spontaneous in that one.
I know you have said that sometimes ideas come to you and sometimes you actually have to sit down and say to yourself, okay, today I'm going to write music. So, I mean, is it 50-50? Is it 60-40? Is it, and how much will you fight for an idea, to make it work?
Well, I can tell you something for sure that like I'm a perfectionist. So what happens is that even if I have the idea already, I'm gonna keep on working it for so many hours. Or even if I don't, like again, I'm just gonna keep on going for it, like for all night. It's gonna be an all-nighter, like the sun's gonna come out in the morning and I'm gonna be still on the keyboard with the headphones looking for different bridges or different harmonizations, changing stuff like 100 times, and then maybe after a week deciding or not. So yeah, and the other thing is that it always depends from like when I go to New York, I used to go all the time, and that was like so inspirational. So then I didn't even think about composing. I just did. It just happened. Like all this inspiration, or like when I go to summer, I go to the sea all the time. I love the sea, and again, that makes me so on my zen, quote unquote. So again, it just happens. I found that ideas come to me, from the nature and the quietness of underwater and stuff like that. Like I stay on the sea for hours, like something I do. So there's like some stuff that inspire me very much. And then there's something else, like back in the day, I used to have some compositional projects. Like one I've never forget is like I had to write, compose music and harmonize music for this project, was for a theater play for Billie Holiday's life. So the good thing was that we weren't supposed to play only Billie Holiday music, but I was supposed to compose music to show how dark and depressed she was from all the crazy stuff that were happening in her life. So whenever I had a project like that, I had to compose, and then there's stuff that triggered me, like her life. I mean, that's the way it's so easy, because the tragedy is the great thing for inspiration, the tragedy of your life. So I never forget, like, there was one song was about her father's death, and that song ended up becoming a 5-part suite or something, like. So that's another thing that helped me. Like when I had to do compositions for a project, then I ended up finding like 20 songs instead of 2 or 5 or 10,
Mm-hmm. So do you find it easier to work for a particular project, or do you find it easier to write for yourself?
Well, I always find it easy to compose, and I like it so much. The only thing that I'm not crazy motivated is when I don't have a compositional project, and also when I have too many compositions that I have not done anything with them. So, for example, right now, it's like years that I've finished the album as the compositions, like I found like 10 compositions that the way I put them down is like it's ready for an album. It's that happened 2 years ago.
Okay.
So because of the COVID now, I didn't go to the studio yet to do this album. So now I don't really compose because I feel that I need to do this,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't have the motivation. But the funny thing is that again, like this week I did compose, so I don't know, it's definitely less than before that I had, reasons to compose,
Mm-hmm.
But kind of is still there. Like I need something else that I need in New York, because you see, in New York, I feel liberated and free. There's something about that city, that all this inspiration, and just feel that it's so much simpler than I thought. If I'm here and there's like not much things to inspire me, then I end up in an erotic circle that goes like, oh, this is the same chord that I use. Oh, this melody sounds the same as the other one. Which sometimes it might be true, but in the end, if I see it really as it is, like objectively, even Charles Mingus had songs that were like the one sounded a little bit like the other, but they were amazing, So there's no problem in that, Like, of course, you're gonna have a style that's gonna be, it's the same person. So yeah, there's gonna be some same stuff in the
Of
one
course.
song to the other,
And as they say, there's only so many notes.
Exactly, and exactly that, and the same thing happens with the harmony because it's notes. So like the chords, they're not for forever. Like I seriously believe that harmony, what has happened in harmony in Western music is like everything. It's like, I mean, in the 60s there was still room, to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There was so much the BC and so much contemporary classics that you could put in there, combine them with jazz, and to make them for a quartet or something. Like Herbie Hancock, like he he brought so much contemporary classical music into jazz. But now, after Herbie, like, I'm not sure if there's something to do, really. Like, I mean, of course, you can be having your own sound, kind of, as a composer, but it's not going to be really revolutionary because they did so many things back then. Like, in the 50s and the 60s, they did things that can last for centuries, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they even like Steve Coleman, like crazy rhythmic stuff, like the India rhythms, the India Hindu rhythms, and all that stuff has happened. Like, like, you know, maybe the argument about electronic music, but even that, like, Herbie was working with so many synthesizers back in the 70s already, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Just that they're
You've started to, I guess the word is dabble in electronics. Is that something that you hope to explore more?
so much. I gotta tell you the truth is, like, I'm scared of the result, like, because I'm not deep enough and I'm not sure who to trust, and it's like I want to do it, but you know, it's something that I have to try first, you know,
Mm-hmm.
a lot. But yeah, I'm very, very much into, you know, going for some. If I find the right person, so
Fair enough.
maybe I end up doing it myself. I'm not sure, but you know, the truth is that what I care mostly is that the compositions that I'm going to go to the studio and do for the new album, what I care mostly is, like, the players that I want them to play. I want them to be, and no substitute, you know, like, I want the particular drummer and a particular bass player. And I need Antonis Andrei on the trombone, like, because that guy is like magician. And there's some particular players, and I also need the particular rehearsals, of course, so it can be like legit and have the dynamics that it should have. And then after that, if that happens, maybe I'll go and do some electronics in there, or maybe. But it's not my first thing. My first thing is, like, for the compositions to happen the way I want them to happen. You know, like with the musicians, like the drummers, and the bass player, the piano player, and the guitar player. And I want to explore some Eastern instruments, also some oud, maybe, and then love to have some marimba, but I don't know anybody that plays marimba. That's another problem. And the other problem is that I'm sure there are, but I don't know anybody that plays tabla. Because I have some parts that I want them to sound completely Eastern. Like,
You mentioned some of the players that you want to bring together so you can do the recording of the compositions that you've written. When you are writing, do you write, and when you're writing, think to yourself, this is the person that I want to play this part, so I have to write it like this? Or do you just write and then try to find the person that can play it?
yeah, I always write. I don't think anything. I just think about the composition, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But the good thing now is, as I said before, like, that there's a lot of good players. So yeah, I mean, there's some specific ones that I trust also, but I always think about it later, you know.
Mm-hmm. Understand. Almost, well, all of your albums, you've released them on the Puzzle Music label. How did you come together with Puzzle Music, and what makes you want to keep going back to Puzzle Music?
Well, the whole connection was from my teacher Dimitri Vasilakis, and he brought Alexopoulos, the owner of Puzzle Music, to one of my early gigs, and he just told me, we're gonna do an album. Are you in? You wanna do an album? And I was like, of course. I mean, I was 26 when he said that, so it was like, oh my god, it's so good, you know. So then he did a very, very good job of promoting it, you know, and he also he feels it, you know, like the way he talks to me whenever we do the album, it's like he understands the music, you know. He likes it also, which is like great, you know. It's like a very good compliment because he's also a composer and a musician, so it's great. And you know, it's a really good promotion in Greece. Like he's working every time I release an album. He's working for it. He's like giving the hours, like compared to other labels in Greece that just release an album and then they forget it exists. You know.
Mm.
So it's I mean, it's no joke. It's not nothing. Not this is the right word, but it's no coincidence that like so many people have called me to make connections with Alexopoulos.
Oh, really?
You know, yeah, and he doesn't have any room because like it's an independent label. It's not like a major label, so he can put another 20 jazz musicians.
Yeah.
But now in Greece, there's so many jazz musicians compared to back then. So they all look for a label, and they call me and it's like, hey, I know you have the connection, you know, like, and I'm like, I'm sorry, man, but you know. Guys booked for the next 3 years, so what do you want me to do? You know, like,
Nice.
So you know, it's a kind of compliment also that he gives me all these years while he has so many calls from different styles of music. Also, you know, like, and I don't make any money, of course, because I mean we both don't make any money because it's jazz in Greece. So you know, it's not like that. I made him a millionaire. You know what I'm saying?
You produce all of your albums. How easy or difficult is it to make people understand what you're trying to bring to life? And have you ever thought about producing for other people?
Well, I would love to. I never had nobody asked me to.
Okay.
So if they did, yeah, I would love to do it. And the truth is, my first album was produced by Dimitri Vasilakis, my teacher, which was also another amazing compliment, you know, like that he embraces and loves my music. But the other was mine, yeah. I mean, I always had also help, you know, and like also like the musicians that I wanted, they were always loving it, you know, like embracing it, like let's do another take. I didn't even need to ask that. They wanted another take.
Mm-hmm.
So it was always pretty easy. And yeah, we have some good sound engineers here. There are many, but they're good, and they know me after all these years that we do work together. So it's kind of just happening right now, you know. It's like no problem, you know. It's like they already know the sound that I'm looking for, so
Makes it easy.
everything happens. Yeah, makes it easy. Yeah.
Your most recent release is a single which came out earlier in the year, Nostalgia in Puerto Rico, which has got some fantastic players on there as well. Tell me about this song.
So this song was made in the best trip and the best gig that I ever had, which was like in Puerto Rico. It was a double gig, and it was like 15 days of half vacation, half work, everything paid for, and it was amazing. And it was an amazing time, and I got so inspired. I composed music. So that's why it's called like that, and that's why it has a Latin feeling to it. And yeah, it was an amazing experience. I composed music for this dance company in Puerto Rico, which was crazy, amazing dance company. It's called Coda 21. And at the same time, I played in the festival, the jazz festival, with Puerto Rican musicians. It was so amazing and inspiring. So, you know, I had to do it. It was a few years back, but I realized that this thing I got to record. You know, that song, that Nostalgia in Puerto Rico song.
So the music that
it was one of my favorite recordings.
So the music that you did for this dance company, where can we hear it?
Different music. Oh shit! There's nowhere to hear it. The tragedy there is that the opportunities were amazing, but like the director with the choreographer, they had they fought each other in the end. The same time that we after that event, we had budget from the U.S. government for $40,000, and they broke the deal because they disagreed. It's crazy. It's really crazy. It's really crazy. I mean, I had one of the most amazing times composing for that dance group, and we didn't do nothing after that. We never recorded anything. We never did nothing. It's just like a amateur video that I found online, which was like half of it, and it doesn't even sound good, like as a
Wow.
recording. It was a terrible recording. So the good thing about it is that some of those compositions, I turned them around, and then I made some music out of this, and then so the single that I made like 2-3 years ago, it's called the Sleepwalker. The basis of the motive, it's something that I composed for that dance group.
Mm-hmm.
So the core of the song, like the first 4 bars of the song, is an idea that was from that compositions from that dance group.
Nice.
But yeah, I love that U.S. government budget deal, which was beyond my imagination. It's like, and we were ready to go on world tours. It was like crazy. It was like so close, so close. And the irony about it is that here in Greece, there are like 3-4 players that could go on like world touring. Like they deserve that. Like Kostis, that piano player, that guy is an amazing composer. He's ridiculous. And he could go, like, if he wasn't living in Athens, that's the difference.
Yeah.
The same thing happened to me in New York when we found the New York label and we did the Kassetas album, and he was pretty open about it. The owner of the Two Trap label in New York, he was like, "You can do something, but it's not going to be nothing, because I had to go back in Athens. If I stayed there, I mean, there was opportunity, but the fact that I'm here in Athens makes me, I have to go and live there in New York in order to make the opportunity happen. Otherwise, I mean, it's logical in the way that the guy is there and his label is there. So how are we gonna promote the CD if I'm not there?
Yeah, of course. Actually, is there much opportunity for touring just in Europe, like Italy, France, Spain? I don't know.
Well, I tell you what, like the best. There's some amazing musicians like Kostis, Yiannis Papadopoulos, and others. Like I can think of 3-4 that are crazy level, like definitely world level, like composition wise. So they haven't done it, and I think there's 2 reasons for that. The one reason is that Athens is no good for that, like as a basis. Like 1 or 2 players that I know that made it, they just left Athens and lived abroad. Like 2-3 players that I know that are living in New York, and they make it through New York, so they can do their world tours and stuff. And then some players that I know that they used to live in Europe for many years. For example, Paris and London. These guys made something good out of that, because you can find agents there,
Mm-hmm.
So here you have nothing.
Okay.
Like the other factor that I realized through the years is that it's more about world music and ethnic. If you are from Greece, if you play a little bit of that style, maybe you can do some stuff, in European scene. For example, anything that has like a little bit of oud or some lauto or some Eastern sounds, like as I said, like ethnic style. yeah, maybe you have some opportunity, not something big, but yeah, they're gonna take you in a festival or two in Europe, because that's what sells more in Europe, or like the ECM sound, the European jazz style, like more down, like not many explosions like the Europe jazz, you know, like that style is also a lot easier to make tours in Europe with that sound, you know, like barbaric sound. You know what I'm saying?
Last question. What does the future hold for Mr. Kassetas?
The thing is, it's like 2 years now that I have ready. Everything is so much ready, like compose wise, for my album. So, you know, I need the virus to completely finish so I can be relaxed and go to the studio and then go again. And what I want to do is, as I said, I want to do the rehearsing and I want to have the right players. It looks that it's going to happen the next 6 months. And I'm looking forward to that. And I'm so optimistic about it. And even for outside of Greece playing, I think with this album, if I won't make it with this album, it's not going to be my problem.
Yeah.
That's how confident I feel about it, you know.
Cool.
And the other thing is that I'm going to go to London play with this rock band. It's going to be so nice, so good. It's going to be first time in my life I'm going to play. I played in London once in my life in a jazz bar, but this thing is huge club, and it's going to be a rock band that are kind of famous in London. It's English players. And, the thing is that they recorded their new album in Athens, and I did all the horn arranging, and I played saxophones and flute. So, you know, it's going to be really interesting. I'm going to go there in November and play with these guys in this huge club.
What's the name of the band?
The name of the band is tough names. HDLMTD something.
Don't know that.
HMLTD. They made a big hit in Sony Music International, and then they realized they want to make them pop, so they left that one and they went to another label. So now they're doing the stuff the way they want them to do it, and it's good shit. And they're gonna do their something like album presentation in London, which it's gonna be interesting. So the good thing is that my sister is living there, so and they're gonna keep on living there. So I have a house, and I'm thinking seriously of starting to go there often.
Mm-hmm.
And start to build up something from London, you know, so I can do some gigs there with my band, like find London players and make my own songs. Actually, yeah, maybe it's gonna happen in the future. I'm kind of optimistic about that one also.
Well, thank you very much for your time. It's as I said,
it was great.
Cool, man. We'll have to do it again, and let's not wait this long for the next one.